Today we'll be talking about how we got some new details on the Xbox handheld, or apparently the handheld that isn't by Xbox, and Ubisoft is apparently maybe selling IPs. This and more, because this is Codename Good Game, the show that we're going to be getting together to have book talk about video games. All right, and today with me will be a very long-time guest. We have the one and only, the person that is the Ubisoft shill, the quest of the mode, Sir Josh McKellen, who for some reason is gone from my screen. Let me see if I can bring you back. There you are. Okay. Hello.
Yeah. Josh Finderup.
Josh Finderup.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Anyway, yeah, good to be back. Good to be here. Always fun to chat video games and hang out. Yeah, talking. I never thought of myself as a Ubisoft shill, but you know, I kind of am. If you look at my YouTube channel, it's like half Ubisoft videos.
I just know like it's like I just like to think of something fun to like just bring up about everybody, and I just know you like Ubisoft, and there's we got like 2 headliners about that still, but before that, Josh, how's it going? Like, what's you were on the last episode, but just what's been going on?
It's going well. I'm nothing really new in the gaming space. I'm playing a game called Superland, which I don't know if anybody knows of that game, but it's an indie action adventure. Highly recommend it. I always love to shout out a good indie game. If you like Metroidvania, first-person Metroidvania action adventures, it's really good. Made by one guy. It's one of those type of games.
It's one of those.
And got Assassin's Creed on the horizon. That's coming up in a week and a half, I guess.
That is on the horizon. Like, let's hope it does great.
Yep. And then other than that, just that's kind of it. You know, glad spring's here. Well, yeah. Not technically, but yeah.
We're basically in spring. Yeah. Like I don't know, man. It's I'm looking forward to just the weather being gone, because at my place, like I went for a jog just before this stream, and whenever I go jogging in the Pacific Northwest, aka Washington, and still kind of cold here, not freezing, but my lungs, I'm just like whenever I go jogging in the cold, and my lungs are just like, why are you doing this? But yeah, man, like there was something that I remembered about you and I forgot. Oh, man, I've been playing, I played Split Fiction this last weekend.
Yeah, how was it?
Well, I haven't, this is the annoying part. And I bring this up with you because you and I played It Takes Two together. And there's 2 things I want to say about Split Fiction. One, I have not finished it. My buddy, Mike/Titus, he's like, oh, I'll buy it if you want to play it with me. I'm like, yes, please. Yes, please. And it is great. It is totally living up to the reviews. I will say that. I do think, at least for now, by the end, I will like It Takes Two more for very particular reasons. But we're just stuck at like the last quarter of the game, I'm pretty sure, and we're just like waiting for that chance to finish it. So yeah. But the other thing that I want to mention about it is I was just like, whenever I'm away from it, I'm like, man, I kind of wish I played that with Josh. But then I think that about a lot. Like there's so many people I would love to experience this for the first time with, but you can only get that first time with someone.
Yeah.
Like many things in life.
Well, I do have fond memories of playing It Takes Two together. That was a good time, and I'm glad it seems like you've been having a good time with Split Fiction. At some point I may pick it up, but as you know, it's I'm a solo gamer through and through.
A solo gamer. Well, yeah, in Split Fiction you just can't do that. You just can't. Shout out to Creature and C2 for watching. Everybody, this is a show called Codename Good Game, and more just some quick notes before we begin. I am shifting this show to pretty much it's the same. We kind of took a little breather, but I just want to say there's some transitions going on with the channel that I might be live streaming more often, is basically the summary of it all. And part of that makes me think, what do I do with Codename Good Game? And does it stick around or whatever? But for now, what I thought of is Codename Good Game is an opportunity for us to kind of have a weekly book club, if you will, where not just a guest like Josh here, but me, you watching, we get to just kind of have a nice powwow about things that are on our mind this week, whether it's news or just a general topic, whatever. And if you ever want to be on the show and you're watching this and you're not even a content creator, there's a form in the description. That's literally what I'm thinking. That's a very drastic shift, but I'm just like, I want this is a small channel that I want to see if that can be a thing where I'll bring on the usual gang of creators that I have here, or just peeps, whatever. But like, I want to welcome you if you feel, you'd be up to it and you would like to. It's an absolute blast. I love talking with people that are just passionate about video games. So that's kind of what this might become. And then the other streams, if that is what I'm doing, will be more of a individual format. We'll see. So anyway, oh good, Nightbot is working. I was curious about that. So Nightbot has some commands if you want to catch up with who Josh is, what our trivia is going to be this week. And as I was telling Josh just before this, it's my birthday this weekend. So yeah, if and I kind of wish I got his reaction because he's just like, oh, happy birthday, whatever. But,
happy birthday.
Yeah, but because it's that, I am being selfish today with our trivia at the end, where we will be, well, I should say I will be this time. I'm selfish today, and I want Josh to quiz me on a game he will think of for 20 questions. So I'm looking forward to that. But and one more little housekeeping thing to get us started. Thank you, C2. Happy birthday. Thank you very much, sir. Before we get started, one new format to this Codename Good Game. I have a bit of like a housekeeping start here. Josh, I want to start each of these now with a neat little question to get to know the panel, to get to know me, and for the chat to be able to interject as well. And it's just a very general question. What would you say is your favorite open world game of all time?
Favorite open world game of all time.
There is a general question I want to start asking at the start of each of these streams. Just get to know the panel and who they are, maybe a little bit, or a bit of their tastes. And I was like, you know what? Josh is going to be on today. He likes Assassin's Creed. He likes Far Cry.
That's
he likes Metroidvanias.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
World. Yeah.
So there's definitely like a short list. And oof.
I ask you this watching too, if you're here live.
Yeah. I had no heads up on this. I do think, which is good.
Yeah, no heads up. This is a surprise question.
I'm gonna have to. I feel like this is kind of the go-to answer these days, but I'm gonna have to go with Elden Ring. This is my favorite open world game of all time. It's definitely the one
I think that's mine too. I think that's mine too.
I have some really solid, like it's close. Like I have some really solid second place games, but when I just think about it, like Elden Ring, there's nothing like it. For one, like that's probably why it goes to the top of the list. Like open world games are kind of a dime a dozen these days, and even some of my favorites, like I think my favorite Assassin's Creed is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but there's a lot like any Ubisoft game is pretty much like that. Right. Skyrim, I feel like is up there, but it's been so long since I played Skyrim. I feel like if I went back to it,
don't know if it holds up.
Yeah. And then there was one other one that I was thinking. Oh, Cyberpunk 2077 would definitely be a close second. Probably.
C2 said in the chat. I saw that. Yep. Rocket said Witcher 3. Creature. I think the only true open world I've played is Elden Ring. Yeah. Yeah. Like Elden Ring, I want to comment off of that because I think that would be mine. And I bring this question up because admittedly, open worlds is a genre that lately I'm actually starting to get tired of, man. I'm tired. I'm getting a little bit tired of. I just want to experience my Last of Us narrative, and just go straight through, and see what the developers made for me without me sidetracking too much. But yeah, like on the short list, it's funny because you're like, there's nothing like it. You're right, and that's the thing. It's like I think the best open worlds are the ones that are kind of each have their own thing. Maybe they're not better than each other, but it's that. Yeah. And I'll never like my short list is definitely it was until Elden Ring, Breath of the Wild. No question. Like,
Yeah.
like no question, because I've never experienced that kind of freedom. Like, that is the most definitive open world game I've ever played, for purely the exploration sense. Now, impressive Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 is, I can't even fathom that thing exists still, even today.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe that game, with the amount of detail that it has and the things that you can do and like truly immerse yourself. But in terms of just like kind of both those cumulatively, the exploration and the immersion, Elden Ring, it's like it is an open world, but what you experience in it is so only Elden Ring. It's the world, it's the art, it's the music, it's like everything. I like being here, even though this is a terrible place to be.
And the other thing about Elden Ring and FromSoft, I feel like everybody expects their combat to be good, and it is. Like, right. I think Elden Ring probably has the best combat of any open world game. I mean, hands down. I can't think of another one. And like when you play a game like any Assassin's Creed game, I mean, there's some nuances to it, but it's for the most part like a button mashing experience. Like you go in, you like you might have to parry a few people or counter a few people, but with Elden Ring, if you're not paying attention, you're going to get slaughtered. And I think that's another reason why I really like that game is it really demands your attention. You can't like just breeze through that game without thinking about it.
Yeah. No, agreed. And that's kind of part of the engagement too. So that's like a fun thing. I just want to like get to know like the panel, get to know us, get to know the chat. Again, let us know like what is your favorite open world game if you listen to this live or if you're listening to it after the fact. But our headliner, as we get into our topics, the other format of CGG going forward potentially is, again, to make this kind of a collaborative thing between you, the panel, everybody, is just everybody on the show brings a topic, a headliner topic. And if it's just like two of us, like me and Josh today, then maybe we'll bring a runner-up. So that way we could have 2 to 4 topics total. So, the headliner that I'll kick us off with, now that we got our handful of people joining, gave you guys time to warm up. Happy Friday, everybody. We have new details about, well, potentially new details. Take this all like with a grain of salt, but we had a week where Jez Gordon from Windows Central, I believe so.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. He started off our week by giving us the scoop, and Jez Gordon is a very credible insider when it comes to Microsoft and Xbox stuff. And he got a scoop that's just like, hey, apparently the next Xbox is going to be in 2027, the next console, which his words is it's a successor to the Xbox Series X specifically. But the other thing he was saying is that for now, there is going to be, and apparently they're making their own handheld, which I want to come back to that. They're making their own handheld to potentially launch with that same console successor. But this year, supposedly, they are partnering with somebody to make a just partnered kind of PC handheld that won't be able to play Xbox games natively. It's just very much another kind of rogue ally. Like, I'm not sure, like, and this is what I want to talk about with you, Josh, as well as you watching, as to what exactly this machine could be that would entice us. But then it just kept going, where Wednesday, Tom Warren from The Verge is like, oh yeah, Jez is correct, and I confirmed with my sources too, this is happening, but it's also sounds like it's Asus. It's gonna be between $500 to $600. That's what they're aiming for. And it's a real thing. And they are trying to get it out this year. So the question I have in the title is, what would make this thing worth it? And what would, like, how would people, would it be better to wait for, like, what'll be the difference between it and the first party one? I don't know, like, Josh, like, that's, what's your initial reaction to this? Like, I don't know if you saw this beforehand or if you're hearing it through me, or, like, what's your reaction?
No, I did, and I've been following this. I mean, this has kind of been the rumor for a while, right? That Xbox is going to make basically a PC that's an Xbox in disguise sort of thing, which is kind of what I get the impression that this handheld is going to be. And so for me, I never really got the appeal of that. And then it was actually just today, kind of prepping for this show, I was thinking like, all right, what would make this appealing to me? And I thought, well, what if, me being like a PlayStation guy, what if PlayStation came out with a handheld that let me that basically ran on their OS, but also on the side let me play my Steam library, and I'd be all over that. So I mean, like if I'm in the Xbox ecosystem, this sounds amazing to me. I've never fully jumped into the Xbox. Like I was on Game Pass for some time, but I've dropped my subscription to that. So for me, I do have a Steam Deck though, and I
remember this just before the stream, and I'm very curious on your perspective as like somebody that owns a Steam Deck. What would this have to do to be like, oh, I'd rather get this than have my Steam Deck kind of a thing?
For me, I don't know that this is going to entice me to spend like $500 or $600 to get another handheld other than my Steam Deck. Because for me, it would basically be like, okay, now I can play Xbox exclusive games on the go. That would be the main draw. But
I don't know if you know the answer to this, but if anybody's watching, can you confirm does the Steam Deck, can it run PC Game Pass? Because that's something I keep hearing yes and no. So, but I think that's an enticement. But yeah, like what you're saying. Sorry.
If you can, I think you have to do it on the back end. Like it's because when you open a Steam Deck, it's Steam OS. Like it's Steam basically when you open it. And I've only used it for that, but you might be able to do it. But for something that is just like where if it's like a true console-like experience where you just turn it on and it's Xbox's OS. But if you want to, it's easy to get into Steam. I do think that is a compelling offer for people who aren't like entrenched in another ecosystem like I am with PlayStation.
Yeah.
So yeah, but like I said, yeah, if PlayStation released this, I would buy it. I would be pre-ordering it day one. Because I do have a rather large Steam library that I would like to have on the same console that I play my PlayStation games.
Yeah, so C2 answered, you can for the PC Game Pass, but it's not intended to really. So, and it's weird because that's not like a definitive yes or no, but I guess it's a yes. But yeah, it's so essentially because you're onto what I think would be the enticement is basically if this thing can play the PC Game Pass and another factor that is a follow-up to this story, but especially just Steam. Like Steam is becoming that option that you could play both Xbox and PlayStation games. Now, PlayStation, unless you're Helldivers 2, isn't really launching, or I guess multiplayer stuff especially. They're not launching stuff like day and date on Steam quite yet, but in the future, I'd imagine that'll potentially shift and change, but for now, it's like, I think that is the big enticement. It's like, oh, I could get the best of both worlds with this machine. And that, I think, is the direction Xbox is going. Because it's literally like what... It's funny because I saw a good point from another content creator that he was saying, like, Xbox knows what they're doing. Like, they probably even let this leak out on purpose because they're getting ready to announce this, but they want to, like, ease people into it. And a part of that easing into it was, last year they hard ran with the "this is an Xbox" ad. They hard ran with that, and they wanted people to kind of get associated with that idea. And now potentially, and the multi-plat stuff and everything. And now it's like, okay, what if we have partners literally make machines that could play our games, but what I'm curious about is like, what will be the difference between this machine that say Asus is making for $500 to $600 and the one that Xbox is making, if that is the case?
That is, to me, very interesting as well. I mean, it seems like they're kind of testing the waters with handhelds, but I mean, I think the market is like totally ready for. I mean, the Switch is blown up. The Steam Deck, I don't know if I would say it's blown up, but it's done very well. It seems like there's an appetite for this, and if they do it right. So I don't know like why they're testing the waters. Maybe they just want to fine tune, whatever they are working on that is going to be the Xbox version of this. So that is a little puzzling to me as well. I don't know what's going to make it different.
Well, because Phil Spencer said, and I see C2 in the chat saying, does it have your catalog on it, is what makes it an Xbox, potentially. Like, so, and this is, okay, let me bring this up before I'm going to say what I was going to say, is that the follow-up to this story, happened yesterday, I think, where there was an official Xbox podcast where they promoted this new feature that, like, you know, it has to do with AI, and it's like, oh, it'll help you, whatever. But they also promoted, like, hey, our Play Anywhere program is expanding. Like we want to keep that program going. And it's a program I really think they got to start marketing hard. I'm curious if you would agree, Josh, and you watching, but like this is something that really, like, if they are going to lean into this direction, then what is the advantage of playing on Xbox if you could play this on a PlayStation, you know? Other than Game Pass, it's if you buy on our marketplace, you could play it on your PC or Xbox. I'm in a situation right now. I finally have been playing Helldivers 2 this year. I freaking love it. It's awesome. But I only have it on Steam, so I can only play it on my computer. But man, if I could if I could make the choice of playing it on my computer or my living room console, that would be amazing. And I think that's something that Xbox really needs to lean into, because and I think they are. Like, this news timing with over 1,000 games on Play Anywhere being officially announced this week, that can't be a coincidence. That can't be a coincidence, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and whoever that was that brought it up did raise a good question of, you know, and I think the answer is, like, I would hope it's yes, your library would be, like, instantly playable. Like, your entire Xbox library would be accessible on this thing, right? I mean,
I think for the Xbox one, for this Asus one, it sounds like, at least what Tom Warren's saying, that's not going to happen.
Okay, so then
but it will be Play Anywhere. It could run PC Game Pass. It could do Play Anywhere. But if you have, like, Xbox, like, console purchases or games, then you won't be able to play those if they don't support Play Anywhere. So maybe that's the answer for this, like, in-house one.
Yeah, to me, that would be the selling point. Like, if I had a couple hundred games in my Xbox library, and then all of a sudden you tell me you can play those anywhere. I mean, that's what made the Steam Deck so appealing to me, is I have this built-in library because I am a sucker for their stupid sales, and I just buy games that I'll never play, and now I have all this huge backlog, and now it's playable anywhere. And so with Xbox, for people who have built up a library of games, yeah, that's a huge part of it. At least for me.
There's a good message, Tim Purr. This device seems to be a handheld Xbox PC. The next one is a handheld console. So, and that's maybe like a potential final point, is that Jason Ronald, who's the guy that's in charge of, it's literally like vice president of Next Generation or something like that. It was formerly like the guy in charge of building the architecture for the series. He was stating, I think it was like in January or I think it was January, that he went to like the tech conference or something. I forget what it's called. GDC? I don't know. But it's like, yeah, we're trying to make the Xbox UI able to be integrated into basically whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, like, Tim Purr watching, you know, maybe that's what this next console is going to be. Because it already sounds like the 2027 console is, it's not for certain. It's not as certain as these handhelds, but it just sounds like it very well could be a PC console hybrid to address that Helldivers concern that I was saying. And I'll be very curious. And I think maybe that's what this is. They're getting ready to be able to make like a handheld that does feel like the Xbox UI. You will load all of your console games and your PC games at the same time. And this is especially for third parties. You know, because their own first-party stuff, I think all of their first-party stuff supports Play Anywhere. All of it's on Game Pass. So I think it's especially just getting ready for the third parties to hop on board.
Yeah, I do think that whatever the first-party one is, whenever that comes out, having it be able to run Windows, I do think would be huge if they...
Yeah.
Like, that would... Because I think Sony is working... I think PlayStation is working on a handheld, or at least... I'd be surprised if they're not, and
I feel like theirs would be a much more traditional one, though. Like, yeah, it'll be the answer to the Switch,
right? And I think that if Xbox goes up against PlayStation just head to head with, we've both got handhelds, and they both basically are just portable versions of our home console, I think Xbox is going to lose because they've already lost that battle. Like, Xbox, the console,
I
the
disagree with
Xbox
that
console. Well, I mean, sales wise, it's not a contest between Xbox
Right.
and PlayStation. So I'm talking like in terms of just selling units. Say they were to both launch on the same day, a handheld, and they both basically are just handheld versions of their console.
That's
PlayStation's going to sell more, you know. So
Yeah.
I think they need something like, dude, they make Windows. Microsoft makes Windows. So
Well, see, and so are you saying like if it's just an Xbox handheld, then it will clearly lose? Or are you saying like the only way it stands a chance is if it's a hybrid?
I don't know if it's the only way it stands a chance, but I think it stands a much better chance if Xbox can say we have this handheld. Yeah. And it just seems like a no-brainer.
Because I think that's the way they do it. As I said again, like the Helldiver situation. Like I think you have this PlayStation system that can play PlayStation games, or you have this, and it can also play Doom and Xbox games. But the other side, it's like, okay, here's that same game but with Game Pass and play anywhere and stuff. But is that going to appeal to everybody? Who knows? But I don't know. Like, yeah, Creature, unless they have a very good ad. They need to market the play anywhere thing, man, because I think that is a cool feature. And C2, with the Steam Deck existing and Switch 2 coming out, I don't think that the Asus one is going to sell very well. It's going to be a very niche market, I think. I agree with C2. That's a good point. And yeah, because if it releases in the midst of, well, hopefully it's like a few months after the Switch. I don't know. I'm very curious if it does well or not. But
I also wonder if there's a market of like PC gamers who are like console curious that might dip their toes into like, oh, I play all my games on my PC, but I like the idea of like a turnkey console that I don't have to tinker with or whatever. I don't know what the negatives of PC gaming are, but like not much these days.
It's the simplicity, man. That's why I'm a console boy. It's a simplicity. I don't want to deal with the OS and updating a driver, all this stuff.
Yeah. And like if it can dock to your TV like a Switch 2, that would be another huge plus.
Oh, I guarantee you it's doing that. Yeah. Now, so this is a good question. So let's say this Asus one is what Tom Warren's saying. It's $500 to $600. And later on, there's the handheld that supposedly launches with this next successor to the Series X. So I guess what's in my head, I'll just say, is like, I wonder if it's going to be the same price. And what I mean by that is like they tried this generation. Here's a Series X and here's a Series S. The Series S is $200 cheaper. Get that if you just want a Game Pass machine, kind of. But I wonder if the next thing is like, hey, here's our in-house handheld that we figured out. It works great, but it's like the same price as our console, if not potentially more. Because I don't know. I'm just kind of like curious if they balance that out. But
yeah, it will be interesting to see how it compares to the next generation Xbox. Because I also think of it kind of like next generation's Series X or Series S, in the sense that they're probably not going to be able to fit whatever the next gen full powered console is into a handheld. So it's probably going to be, it's got to be pretty significantly less powerful, right, than the console that it launches next to.
Yeah. That's what I wonder. And it's like, I don't want developers to be held back or anything by it, but I feel like, I don't know. That's what I'm very curious about, because I kind of want them to move past this multiple SKU thing. But it's very curious. Yeah.
I also think that handheld gaming, I would not be surprised if that's the next console war, is like who can win. I guess you could argue Nintendo's already won it, but like Nintendo aside, who's going to win the handheld? Because like graphics aren't going to get much better. Yeah, graphics aren't going to get much better. Like the performance of these machines, 60. Hopefully one day we get to 60 frames per second, 4K on every game. But when we get there, what's left? Like form factor, I think is it. Like making these handheld things. So I'm not sure where I was going with that, but I do think that is kind of the next space that Xbox could potentially win. If they play their cards right.
Yeah. We will have to see. I don't know. It's very curious. Again, I don't think this is all just coincidence. Like, I don't think this $1,000 Play Anywhere thing happen at the same time, and this official podcast happen. I think this is all planned because they're easing people into it, and we will see if it works out, especially this year. I wonder, does it show up at Showcase? Over under? Does it show up at Showcase?
I would say yes. I would think so.
I wonder if that's a Showcase thing or a Summer Game Fest thing. That's what I wonder.
Oh, so you're saying like those are the Showcase? Do they have a date lined up for a Showcase?
Not yet, but I'm sure it's early June.
Yeah.
But I wonder if they use time in their Showcase to mention it, if this partnered one especially is happening in 2025, or if that's like a Summer Game Fest announcement that's like more generally everybody. I don't know, very curious. They'll probably just announce it and be like,
yeah,
kind of like I won't talk about it, but like Space Marine 3 this year, just hey, we're developing that.
Yeah, that was random. That. Yeah, totally. Saw that this morning.
Yeah, that's what they're gonna do. Like, hey, Asus is making this handle for us. But yeah. C2, I just was watching your react to last year's Showcase. So it would be hard to top that one. Oh, I was just rewatching that too, C2. Actually, it's funny you bring that up.
Oh man, that was such a good showcase.
That was such a good showcase. Oh man, at some point, I can't wait. We got the Switch 2 showcase coming up, but oh man, we're in 2025. But that is my main headliner topic. I wanted, and this is what I'm saying, and now Josh has his headliner topic to bring up, and I'm going to let him take the floor. Josh, what would you like to bring to our book club of Codename Good Game this week?
So the story that I chose, and when I heard this, I had kind of a dual reaction. I was kind of like, wow, that's interesting, and I was also kind of like, oh boy, here we go again. And that is that Ubisoft, I think a lot of people who have been paying attention know that Ubisoft is kind of up for sale right now, or it seems like Tencent might be. There were talks of a buyout, but it came out that Ubisoft is now reportedly considering selling some of its IPs to companies like Microsoft and EA, and I think Tencent is still in the mix as well. This comes amid some controversy, you could say, with Assassin's Creed Shadows, and a lot is riding on the release of that game. I think a lot of people are paying attention to see if it is major hit, and if it is, maybe that will take Ubisoft off the market. I doubt it. Anyway, one of the interesting things with this report was that one of Ubisoft's shareholders has come out and said that Ubisoft did not tell them about this. Like, they didn't know. And so this was kind of a surprise that they may be shopping around some of their IPs. So that's the news story. And I just think it's the fact that Microsoft was in talks, to me, was very surprising because they just finished the Activision buyout.
Is that past tense, though? Because I feel like it's like was or is. Like, that's...
I don't know.
I mean, at the bare minimum, but like,
yeah, and it would be. I think I would be able to. It'll be a little bit more palatable to me if it's just IP that they're like. If Microsoft ends up buying, I don't know. I mean, I think Assassin's Creed is the crown jewel for Ubisoft. But there's some other big ones. Yeah, because
I am familiar with this too, and it's just the idea of like it sounds like it is just IP selling. Like they're selling off IP. They're pulling what Marvel did in like the early 2000s, where they sold off Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, and all these things, and it sounds like that's what Ubisoft might be doing, but they won't part with Far Cry and Assassin's Creed. No way.
Yeah, and so that's the next kind of interesting part of this conversation is like, what does Ubisoft have that would be interesting to these companies? Because a lot of, I mean, yeah, we hear about Assassin's Creed all the time. It's been a while since we got a Far Cry game, but that's another big one. But they actually have like a lot of really solid IP. I mean, I think a big one is Rainbow Six Siege is huge. Like that's if anybody wants a live service is the thing right now that everyone's trying to do. Well, Ubisoft has a pretty successful live service game in Rainbow Six Siege, so that would be interesting. If someone were to buy that.
See,
I don't know if Microsoft
would they would they sell it? That's my question, is would they sell it, not would somebody buy it? Because it's funny because this is like an opposite situation as to last week with Warner Brothers. Like Warner Brothers, there was talks about like they were shutting down and stuff, or shutting down their studios and prioritizing their projects, and it's like, hey, there was apparently rumors that like we were trying to actually sell off our studios way back, but we didn't want to sell our IP alongside them. And it's like, well, that's why we would buy your studios. We would want the IP. But now it's like Ubisoft, it's a different situation where, you know, we're going to buy the IP, but not the studios, question mark?
Yeah, I heard someone talking about this, and they did mention that they thought that it would, when you buy the IP, the studio comes with it. But
yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. And I was like,
I mean, like a situation that I would not be disappointed if it happened is like, let's take Splinter Cell, for example. They haven't done anything with that IP of note for way too long. There's supposedly a remake of the original is in the works, but I feel like I've heard people say that that's kind of in development hell. I don't know if that's true or not, but we haven't heard about it for a long time. Anyway, the point I'm making is I wouldn't be disappointed if the news came out that they said, we're selling the Splinter Cell IP. They can have the studio or not. It doesn't matter. But Splinter Cell's going to, let's say Microsoft buys it, and then Microsoft is like, or Xbox rather, it says, we're going to give it to this studio. Like, we're going to give Splinter Cell to this, and it ends up being a really good studio. I'd be all for that. I do hope we get.
Oh my God, Josh! Oh my God, the ultimate combination. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
So that's, I think that's a fun question. It's like for the chat, like what, and just you watching, like what would be the IP that you would want to see if like Ubisoft is selling like the IP that they would sell, who would you want to buy them, and maybe a why and a studio that you would want to work on them, because I think that's probably the for fun part of this conversation. But like, yeah, imagine first off, 100%, like Microsoft purchasing Splinter Cell is perfect. Yeah, because I feel like Splinter Cell wasn't that like heavily associated with the original Xbox.
It was an Xbox exclusive. I think the first 3 might have been Xbox exclusive.
Yeah, so it'd be like kind of a return home in a sense, but Xbox partners with IO Interactive to make it.
Dude, yes, that would be amazing. Like
I knew you would like that. I knew you'd like that.
I mean, that would be incredible if something like that happened.
So perfect. That's like a perfect pair up. That's such a perfect pair up.
And in fact, I have another one for Splinter Cell that's right along those same lines. Like, what if because we know that Xbox and Kojima Productions are working on stuff now. That would be another like great example. Although I don't think Kojima would be excited about Splinter Cell. But
that'd be weird. You make a game of your former rival.
Yeah.
That'd be weird.
But IO would be, I mean, I can't wait to hear what they're doing with James Bond. But if they were to do Splinter
that's true, because they're working on James Bond and I think a fantasy multiplayer for Xbox.
That's what I heard.
Hasn't officially been announced or something. Yeah, but that'd be basically a similar pair up to like Ninja Gaiden 4. You know, like Xbox game publishing, so it's first party, but they reached out to Team Ninja to make it and everything. So, and Platinum. Oh my God. But like I love that idea of just like you get the IP. But if you don't have a studio that wants to work on it or can work on it, then if you reach out to an ideal studio, that's awesome. Like that is actually what I want. I want Xbox to purchase Splinter Cell and them to get IO or sure Kojima to work on it. But IO I feel like is perfect. But Vagrant says Beyond Good and Evil 2 needs to be bought by someone because it's been years. Yeah. What even?
I think the funny outcome of this story would be like, and it hasn't become a huge story, but like, let's say it does, and there's all these talks, and then all of a sudden, like the news comes out that like the deal is done, the IP are sold, and they end up selling like Rayman. Just something small. I mean, not that Rayman is insignificant, but it's no, it's no Far Cry.
I wonder who would buy Rayman because I feel like Rayman's been just absent. I think his last game was like 2012 or 2016. I don't remember what the game was, but
it was it's been a while.
Yeah,
but the last two
like last two what?
I was gonna say the last two are some of the best platformers I've ever played. They're very close to one another. Legends, Rayman Legends, and Rayman Origins. Incredible games. But like that would just be funny if they're like the rumor got out that they were shopping around IP, and they're like, that's true, but the only ones for sale are these, the small fries that they've got. I don't know what the other ones would be, You've got
I feel
Rayman.
like they'd be willing to let go of. I mean, if things are really that bad, and Ubisoft has kind of been a publisher that people are talking a lot about in terms of the past year or two of just being a publisher that's kind of in trouble right now, and because of that, I feel like they would be very open to just selling all their things that are not the guarantees, aka the Rainbow Six, Assassin's Creed, and Far Cry. I feel like that's their trilogy that we could get a lot of money for those, but those are literally the things that are keeping us afloat.
Yeah, and without Assassin's Creed, like, what is Ubisoft? I mean, there's a lot, but that is, like I said, that's kind of the flagship.
But even way back, like Square Enix America or West or whatever, like I think it was 2 years ago when they sold freaking like Deus Ex Machina and Tomb Raider and all these things. I could imagine it being a similar thing like that. Like, okay, let's sell off Rayman, let's sell off Splinter Cell, let's sell Prince of Persia. Like let's sell off these IP that. They're notable IP, but they're not really making us a lot of money. So if people can make a good offer, then let's do it.
Prince of Persia is a great example. I don't know. Obviously, like, you need to sell it for a price that someone's willing to pay. But if they could get rid of, sounds so bad, but get rid of Prince of Persia and give it to someone who's A, passionate about it, and B, doesn't need to make a freaking truckload of money when they want to make a lot of money. But like a publisher like Ubisoft, they're looking for. That company wants to make billions of dollars, not millions. They want to make billions. So sell it to a developer. Like IO is a good example, not for Prince of Persia, but
like maybe a bigger independent one or something.
Correct. Yeah.
Like a Bungie before they were acquired by PlayStation. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, that would be another one. I would love to see another Sands of Time, like another game in that vein if we could ever get one.
A studio that does parkour really good. I think this is the fun part of just like, who would do this good?
I mean,
I don't know.
Well, there's
an Insomniac Prince of Persia.
I mean, honestly, that sounds pretty awesome to me.
They nail gameplay and movement.
I don't know who does Dying Light. I've never really gotten into those games, but I know they do parkour pretty well.
Oh, that's a good shout, actually. Yeah. C2 Nintendo would buy Rabbids. I don't think Nintendo would acquire anything. I feel like Nintendo, if they acquire anything, it's just a studio to work on their IP. Because it's like, oh, we got IP that sell. We don't need to buy IP. We got the best IP in the world. So I feel like if they buy anything, they would want a studio more than an IP. But yeah, maybe the licensing rights, like more like Mario plus Rabbids. That's a good example. Like maybe that's what Ubisoft needs to do. Just partner with other peeps that can produce it for them and then just cut down on their studios. Who knows? But yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if this comes to pass. Oh, and EA was on that list too.
That's right. Yeah. And I
can't picture that at all. Except Tom Clancy. I could picture EA wanting Tom Clancy, but I don't think they'll split with that.
Yeah. Like I can see really wanting like a game like Rainbow Six Siege, but yeah, any studio that gets bought by EA, I'm just like, may they rest in peace. I think of BioWare, and I'm just like, that studio has just been destroyed by EA.
They're on their last chance, man.
Mass
Effect don't do good.
Yeah.
They've literally been dwindled down to like, we are just doing Mass Effect because that's all we have the resources left to do.
Yeah. And I feel like EA, they're just like, we got FIFA, or I guess it's now FC, and like, what else does EA? They have BioWare, they have FC. I'm sure there's plenty of games that I guess they did just publish Split Fiction. That'll probably sell a boat.
Yeah, their EA original program is something really cool. In fact, I think that would actually be cool to see. Well, never mind, because I think that EA original, it's like, no, we kind of want new IP under this and like, smaller developers. So yeah, never mind. I was gonna say like, oh, that'd be cool, a Prince of Persia thing through that, but I think that's a program that they have that they just kind of want to fund brand new IP and independent projects. So, yeah. And Vagrant Ender, Xbox Playground Games, BGE2. What is BGE?
Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Oh! Yeah. I can't picture it. I feel like I can't picture that. I don't know.
I would just love to know where that game is in its development cycle. Because I think they've said it's still going, but like, I'm not so sure. I haven't heard
a peep from it in like 6 years.
Yeah. Did you play the original Beyond Good and Evil? I did not.
No. I just want to know, though. I'm like, I want to know where the heck it is, but yeah, we'll see, man. I'm very curious, and I hope the best for Ubisoft. Like I do, and I hope that if they do this, that people that buy the IP genuinely care about it. I'm hoping that they buy it because, like freaking, as much as I'm an Xbox guy, I state to people I'm more of an Xbox Game Pass guy. Really, it hurt my soul when I heard that they sold Hi-Fi Rush off when it was like they closed that studio down and everything, and like that IP did great. And Aaron Greenberg said it did great. But I'm glad that somebody bought, the studio and the IP because it's like, oh, we think that we could do something with this.
Yeah.
And that's what I hope. Like if something like this with Ubisoft and it was like, oh, we think that we could do something with Prince of Persia. We think we could do something with Rayman. Like that would be really cool if, whoever buys it does that.
Yeah, I think speaking of IO, I think a similar thing happened with IO. They used to be owned by Square Enix. And I think Square Enix just let them go. Like, I don't even think they tried to get money for them. I'm not sure what happened. So it has happened before.
We'll see. And that is our lead stories. But just quick runner-ups. So this is the part if we just have two guests, just two bonus topics. Let us know if you're watching, if you got a potential question for us that we'll address after these, like, just quick two stories that are not maybe as big, but just kind of little things we wanted to bring up. My runner-up story is to just present to you and you watching is, I just find this fascinating, kind of. I guess I'll just run with the two Xbox stories sort of this week. Being, I've reported on this previously that there is an Elder Scrolls Oblivion remake, and it's basically all but confirmed. Just if you follow everything, there's somebody that leaked it like 2 years ago. It was on Bethesda documents when they were getting acquired, and it's just pretty much all but confirmed. But now Nate the Hate, who this year has been killing it with insider knowledge, like he's been getting a lot right. He's I believe it was him that was stating, from what I'm hearing, they might be dropping this Elder Scrolls Oblivion remake by the same studio, by the way, that's handling the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake.
I didn't know that.
Apparently. I don't know how they're doing it, but they are. They are going to be dropping this thing. First, we heard earlier this week before June, or as late as June. But now, I think he said either today or yesterday, actually, it could be announced and dropped next month in April. And I'm like, what? So, I don't know. I find that approach intriguing if that is true. And it makes me curious. Like, I fully thought if this was true, it was going to be in the developer direct and we would get to go to that studio and see what they were doing with it and putting into it. But then I also think of the Quake remasters. I think that was the year before last. I can't remember. Was that last year or the year before last? It
was at least the year before, because I was in my previous apartment, and that means that would have had to have been over 2 years ago. Yeah.
Well, I guess what I mean by specifically, maybe it was. I just remember there was a year or a time that they announced, like, here's Quake 1 and 2 and potentially 3, and they're all like up-resed and improved and stuff like that. So, and they kind of just shadow dropped them, if I remember right. So I wonder if it's like, this is just one of those cases where it's like, oh no, we don't really want to have this in a showcase or anything like that. But I wanted to bring this up because I was curious what you think and you watching of, like, if they do this and it's alongside, like, by the way, here's Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3+4, and that's coming out in June or July or whatever, but we're just gonna announce it here. I think it's funny that there's just, like, we have so many projects now that we just can't have them all in showcases. Like, we're just, I don't know. Like, what's your initial reaction to that? Or thoughts?
I think that an Oblivion remake is such a smart move for Xbox.
I agree.
I always see these remakes come. It seems like every month there's a new remake announced or a new remaster, and I'm always like, man, I wish I never played that game so I could play it for the first time. I never played Oblivion, and I think there are a lot of people. I mean, Elder Scrolls was big before Skyrim, but Skyrim I do feel like was a lot of people's first game. Not to mention Oblivion's just now it's got to be 15 years old. So I feel like there are a lot of people who haven't played it.
2006, I want to say.
So almost 20 years old. Like,
yeah.
So there are a lot of people that haven't played that game, and we're talking about the sequel or the prequel to one of the most beloved games of all time. So this thing is going to sell like crazy. I'm mostly curious to see how exclusive is it going to be. Is it going to be just Xbox and PC, or is it going to be on PlayStation? Because I feel like this is one. If Xbox cares even one iota about selling Xboxes these days, which I'm not sure they do, I feel like this is one that they should make exclusive. Because I just don't. Like if Elder Scrolls 6 comes out and if they make that exclusive, there will be riots. But with this one, I think they could get away with it, you know?
Well, it's funny because in the ABK stuff, that's a really good question, actually, Josh. Because in the Activision Blizzard court case, they slipped up that they were like planning, or it sounded like Elder Scrolls 6 was going to come out in 2026 to 2028, something like that, and it was planned to, I think, be an exclusive. I think that did come out because at the same time, it's like, oh yeah, Indiana Jones from Bethesda is also going to be exclusive, and it was, even if for a timed. So, but I really did. That's a good point. I never thought of the exclusivity because there's a lot of people that would say the question of like, well, why would I bother getting an Xbox if I could just play this on my PlayStation? And it's like, well, not everything is multi-plat yet. South of Midnight's not coming. There was freaking, I can't remember what the other one was. Oh, South of Midnight and Avowed, for this year. Those are two games that are not currently announced for PlayStation or anything else. And
if there's one game that has gotten me thinking about signing back up for Xbox Game Pass, it's Avowed. And so would Oblivion, even though that's two pretty big RPGs, but yeah,
those are two fantasy RPGs. Yeah. So I don't know. That's a good question. I never even thought of that. I wonder. And from also, if I didn't say this, Nate was also saying like, oh yeah, it's not just a graphics thing too. They actually like kind of didn't change things up too much, but they actually like messed with this and that in the combat and a little bit about this in the UI. So instead of it just being a remaster, supposedly it's like, oh no, they actually tweaked the game a smidge to kind of modernize it a bit. So that's kind of interesting. And
isn't it also being built in Unreal 5?
Unreal 5, yes, it is.
So it's going to look pretty darn good. I mean,
it's going to look pretty darn good. But what do you think? I guess my main thing I want to bring this up for is like, just in terms of the idea of, officially Oblivion remake, it's coming out now. like what do you?
I hope they do it like that. I mean, the sooner it comes out, the better. And I can see it happening. I mean, that's been kind of the rumor for a while. And I don't know why they would have.
I feel like that would make for a great showcase, though. Like, what if they held that for the Xbox showcase, and then it's like, oh, SHADOWDROP there or something.
Oh, so yeah, I agree. I mean, I think if they're gonna, I guess he's saying that this could get announced in April, and if they don't have any event lined up for April, then yeah, what are they gonna do? Like, do a little video posted onto YouTube, or like that does seem like kind of like a bit underwhelming. Well,
they'd handle it like they did Tony Hawk, probably. Like just kind of make a countdown announcement and instead of it being in June, Nate's claiming, oh, it's just in a couple of weeks or something. And I feel like that's a pretty significant announcement. The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remake and just SHADOWDROP it. Like I feel like that's something that you would want to make a big beat. I don't know
if they're treating it as a smaller release because it's a remake, but I go back to the fact we're talking about the Elder Scrolls here. I think Skyrim sold like between 30 and 40 million copies. So like this game is a big deal. I feel like an Oblivion remake and if it looks as good as it's
a bit more cult, I would say. Like Skyrim was the mainstream hit and Oblivion was kind of like the underground one, to my knowledge, as an outsider. That's what I've heard. So
that's the same. I did play Morrowind. I will say that way back in the day, and I mean that game was awesome too. But and just if the game is built on Unreal Engine 5, let's say it looks more or less as good as like any modern day game. Yeah, that would be an amazing showcase piece. Like show this new RPG and people don't know at first that it's Oblivion, and then you show that it's Oblivion out now or out next month. Yeah, that would be a great summertime showcase thing.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just find it interesting that they would just do that. So that's why I wanted to bring it up. But and just C2 saying, I'd argue it's a bigger deal than the whole of Avowed. But see, here's the difference: is that Avowed was built up for many years. So
Yeah.
it's like, that's what I mean. It's just like, I think I would agree. I would agree with you, C2, but I'm surprised that they wouldn't want to build that up. But
And do you remember when Avowed was first revealed? I feel like this was a mistake.
July of 2020.
Someone, I think from the studio, it's escaping my mind, the developer of Avowed. Why can't I? Obsidian. Someone came out and said, or maybe someone else, but anyway, it got into the sphere that this was going to be Obsidian's take on Skyrim, and I'm like, man, that was a huge. They shouldn't have said that. I don't know why that occurred to me, but
yeah. Creature, how big could a shadow drop be? I mean, it could be huge, but it's like, I just find that interesting that they would just tweet it out again. The Warhammer Space Marine 3 thing. It's just like, we're developing this. Okay, bye. But it's like, I feel like I think it would be huge, but I don't know. Okay, C2 brings this up. Apex Legends was a shadow drop. That's probably the biggest. Like, that's a good example, but that was a fresh new IP that like nobody knew, and it's like, oh, let's try it. It looks like it's from the developers of Titanfall. Cool. I think that was something that became huge because of the word of mouth, but this could be like a big just marketing beat, even if the game potentially sucks, which it probably won't. But like, I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to see. But anyway, but that's my runner-up. Josh, what's your runner-up before we have a moment with the chat and play our game?
So I'm not sure if this came out yesterday or the day before, but Silent Hill F got a trailer, and I was really impressed by it. I'm not a Silent Hill fan, but this is interesting for a number of reasons. Just like this is, I don't know if F stands for 5. Is this the 5th Silent Hill? But this is a proper Silent Hill. So not just like a spinoff, from my understanding.
Yeah, a new like mainline entry, so to speak. Yeah.
And coming off the success of Silent Hill 2, which was, by all accounts, an amazing game. I just think this is really exciting that the trailer, we didn't get any gameplay, which that was the bummer part of it. But if you haven't watched this trailer and you're into horror at all, definitely check it out because it looks creepy, super creepy.
It looks.
Have you watched it? Did you watch it?
I did, and I'm like, I just. I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, honestly, I don't either. I didn't even read the subtitles. Okay. But it's interesting for a couple of reasons. One, the setting is totally different. This does not take place in Silent Hill. It's in Japan in the 1960s, which is super interesting. And just like how creepy it looks. Silent Hill more so. Back in the day, there were like 2 heavy hitters in survival horror. There was Resident Evil and Silent Hill. And if you really wanted to get scared, you should play Silent Hill. Like Resident Evil is more campy, and I think this seems to be living up to that. So the other reason I just think this is interesting is Konami is like they're doing the thing. Like they are doing what people. Yeah, and they're doing what so few publishers do. They're giving people what they asked for. Like they're doing Metal Gear. Okay, and you can't just it is hard to make a brand new Metal Gear, but they're remaking what is arguably the most loved Metal Gear in the series. So good on them for that. Hopefully it's good. We'll see. And now they're making not just this isn't like some, like I said, spin-off of Silent Hill. This is a proper Silent Hill game. And those are, I would say, arguably 2 of Konami's biggest IPs that they own. They do have Castlevania, which maybe this leads into a new Castlevania game. Who knows? They did release, that's another thing they did that people were asking for. They recently released the collection of the DS Castlevania games, which are amazing games if you haven't played them. And they're like, here they are on a collection, So anyway, Konami seems to be kind of, I don't know if they're taking a hint from Capcom, but they're just doing the right things. And this
they just turn a 180, man. I wonder what happened, because you're right. Yeah, they're like, let's just hit the IP that we haven't hit in a long time. Let's just literally come back. Let's stop. We'll have these gotcha machines funding it all, but let's just literally be back. Let's do stuff with these IP that we haven't sold off, like Ubisoft's about to do. Let's actually do something with these. And even if we partner with people, let's go with freaking Uber Team or whatever, and so on. Let's do it. And that is cool. That is really, really cool. And I don't know. That's great.
I will say there's one thing that is, I was reading this article before we went live and on Silent Hill, and the studio behind Silent Hill F is not one that I recognize, and I'm trying to find the name of it now. Shoot, I might have closed that article, but it is a studio that I would be surprised if very many people, anyway, have any familiarity with this studio. Trying to find it. Dang it.
Feel free to find it in the find it in the mean because I'm curious. But in the meantime, I just want to say the trailer itself. I reacted to this on my Twitch channel yesterday, and I was silent the whole time. As much as like on paper, I love the vibe of it, but I was so submerged in what's happening, not enjoying it, but I'm just like, I was more so like, what's happening? Because I don't understand what's happening, and then But then I'm like, I realized towards the end, and I said the question out loud. And please clarify if anybody knows the answer to this. Is Silent Hill it's very much a psychological horror?
100%. Yeah, it's
okay. Then that trailer makes way more sense. Then okay.
Like there are monsters and stuff, but like even in Silent Hill 2, like you go over to this other realm, and there's that's where like the real creepy stuff happens. And if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's not like Resident Evil where you have like zombies and you blow their head off. Like stuff gets into your head in Silent Hill.
Okay. So then that makes a lot more sense. Because they were talking the whole time about like, oh, you can't let this person go and you blame yourself and stuff like that. I'm like, I enjoy, like, I'm not a horror boy. And you were saying if you want to get scared, play this instead of Resident Evil. I think I could tolerate Resident Evil way more because I'm a baby, but but like I do, if there's any type of horror I like, it's psychological. Like that's why like when I played the Blair Witch, man, that game I literally was going insane. Not because of fear, but I was just like, this is insane. I don't know what's real and what's not anymore.
Well, and in Silent Hill games, your character is probably going to go insane too. Like that's one of the things that happens is their head gets messed with. Huge in Silent Hill 2. Like if you know the story.
She peels off her face.
and Silent Hill's like, is that really happening or is that in her head? You don't know. That's kind of the type of game it is.
I have to read this from C2. Not understanding what's happening applies to most Konami IP.
True. Yeah.
True.
Metal Gear. Like just play any Metal Gear, and if you're not paying attention for 5 minutes, even if you are, it's confusing as all hell.
Nanomachines.
Yeah.
And creature, the monsters come from yours and other brains. Yeah. Okay. So very psychological horror. Got it. Did you see the studio?
Yeah, it's Neobards. I don't know if that's familiar to anybody, but that's what they're called. And I'm on their Wikipedia right now. Neobards.
I've never heard of them.
Oh wait, no, I'm on.
I mean, and that's the other thing I've seen some say, like, yeah, we didn't get gameplay, which is kind of a bummer. But I admit, like, in terms of the cinematic, like, I think that's something important for horror games that you can get away with. That you just show what the vibes are and what the visuals will be like, and give off a tone, because then you want the player themselves. I would argue horror games is probably the one genre that it might actually be a good thing to not see gameplay, because then you could let the person themselves experience it and not kind of spoil how it's going to go. But
yeah.
Anyway,
they are a Japanese studio, and their website, they just don't look like they've done a whole heck of a lot.
I did hear that the author for this game, or the writer, is a mangaka who's basically somebody that creates a manga. Okay. So, yeah, interesting.
Okay, they did work. They did work on it in some extent, or in some capacity rather. They worked on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, so that's something.
In some capacity, interesting. Yeah. We helped polish the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably also visual novel games, Creature says. Yeah, who knows? But anyways, so we're going to potentially transition to our good game here, as our headliners and runner-ups have been addressed. If you are watching live, though, please drop any comments or questions that you might have. And you've been seeing Nightbot go off this whole time. He's trying to root for me there. But my birthday is this weekend, and as you drop your questions, I will just share that not apparently. Man, Josh, I'm getting rid of. I'm getting LASIK surgery, man.
No kidding.
I decided to do it.
Is that like a birthday
it's
present to yourself, or are you just gonna? Have you been?
Well, I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I've been kind of leaking that out through stuff this week, and I just think it's time to be able to swim at the lake while being able to see where our home base is on the shore and stuff like that, man. As I'm sure maybe you could relate. Like, I don't know if you've checked your prescription, but I'm at -5.
I don't know what my prescription is, but my eyesight is very bad. Like, I can't, I'm literally 2.5 feet maybe from my monitor. I can't read a single thing when I pull my glasses down. So,
okay. So you and I are, we're pretty similar. Yeah. So,
and
we will see.
I do have a funny story about you mentioned swimming in a lake. So when I was, this was way back when I was in college, I did a full-on like cannonball into a lake and had my glasses on, and I went down with my glasses on and came up and they were off. And
see, that's why. That's exactly why.
Yep.
Oh man, that was a heart attack. Oh my god.
I was on a weekend camping trip, and that happened at the beginning, so I went the whole weekend with no glasses. That was unfortunate.
Oh, that ruined the whole thing. Well, maybe not ruined, but definitely hampered it. That's for sure. Yeah. Oh man, C2 says I did that too. No way. No way. Yeah. So anyways, if anybody feels like it, and no way are you obliged to, if you listen to this after the show or for the next week, my mother encouraged me to do this because she's been, if anybody in my family has wanted me to do LASIK, it's my freaking mom, man. She's like been egging me on for years. You look so good with your glasses and you'll be so much better. Blah, 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 blah. So she's like, if you're actually going to do it this year, you should do a fundraiser because each eye costs like upwards of $2,000. And I'm like, I don't like to receive, Mom, but it's like, but there's people that love you in your life. I don't know. So I did, and nobody is obliged to, but it's in the description. It's at the top line. If you feel like giving a single dollar to it, you're welcome to. That is a great birthday gift to me because that is going to be a very expensive venture, and it'll be with me forever, and I thank you for that. But otherwise, your gift to me is just hanging out here or listening to this show and hanging out with me and Josh as we are about to play a good game where I let him take the reins. Because he's going to ask me, or he has something for me, which is a game of 20 questions.
Okay, so go ahead.
I mean, so I'll just give context that, like, I'm being selfish today, where if this is the Coded Good game that is associated with the birthday, and I have one more plugin before I'll say that towards the end, actually. I have one plugin that's, like, for a future Coded Good game that I'm really looking forward to. But yeah, I'm like, man, if I get to be selfish for a birthday Coded Good game, I want to actually play because I'm always the one quizzing my guests, but I want to play today. So yeah, we're going to do that as we wrap up the show. And I think after this, I might try to do something with my pop. You wanted to do something with me before he leaves for the weekend. So, but yeah, we're going to do 20 questions. If you don't know what that is, it's 20 yes or no questions that I must figure out the game within 20 questions that can only be answered with yes or no's from Joshua, who knows what the game is, and he will test my might. Or at least he's going to think of one. I don't know if you have one yet, Josh.
I have one that I think would be like easy mode, and now I'm looking to see if I want to pick one, if you want to go easy or challenging. Let's see.
I always tell people it's like as long as just as long as it's not too niched, unless it's something that the person knows that I know, but like when we all went on the celebration day or whatever, you guys picked hard mode and I was like, it's hard, I promise you. So yeah, but as long as it's at least, a good chunk of people would know this game at least by title, or if you have good reason to believe that I would know it, then feel free. C2. No Katamari Damacy. Katamari Damacy. I've never heard of this. Figured it. And I want you to, if you are here live, I want you to try to guess how many questions will I get it in. You could also say you're not going to get it. Let's see who gets the closest. So you could say he's going to get it in 12, he's going to get it in 19, he's not going to get it, he's going to get it in 5. What's up?
If I when I pick a game, should I put it in chat or not?
Mm-mm.
They're playing. Okay, they're
only you know. Only you know. and I'm probably
All right.
gonna. We'll see if I look at the chat or not. I might not. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna. I appreciate you. Feel free to, Josh, but I am curious to see the guesses that you'll get in 17. But yeah, do you got one?
I have one. Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, I have a game.
Okay.
So I guess let the questioning begin. Is that how we kick this off?
Yeah.
And I got to get a tally so I can keep track of how many questions you've asked.
Yes, that is your job as the host. You keep track of the questions and the number of them, and so I have a soundboard, but the sounds aren't playing on the computer, so I apologize, chat. I like to have the sounds of just let's begin. All right, okay. Question number 1: was this released post 2000?
Yes.
And also, here's my challenge. I'm going to get this done. Let's see. I see on the stream it's 1 minute and 11. It's 1 minute or 1 hour and 12 minutes in. I'm going to get this done within 10 to 15 minutes. Call it. Okay.
All right.
All right. All right. So it was released after 2000, you said?
Yes.
Was this an exclusive?
Uh,
When this game launched, was it a exclusive?
I'm 90% sure it was not, but I do want to check into this.
Fact
real
check,
quick.
sure. Okay. If you're watching live, then feel free to drop a recap. Like, so you could put Q. I like to always say you could put Q1, this question, and then a Y, and Q2 this question, then an N for no. Feel free to do that. So it was not exclusive.
Correct. It was not.
Okay. After 2000, not exclusive. So excited to be on the other end of this.
It's not as easy as it sounds.
I just wonder where to go from here. Those are always my two firsties. Was this released after 2010?
Yes.
What I mean by that, sorry, is 2010 beyond.
Yes, it was
Okay,
released.
Okay. 2010 beyond. Okay. This was not exclusive. Was that's 3, right?
Yep.
Okay. Is this an open world game?
Yes.
Ooh, okay.
Nice.
Okay. That's a pretty specific thing to get. I'm glad you were able to answer it too, because sometimes I'm like, open zone. Freaking avowed people like, I don't know if we could call it open world. It's open world. Avowed's open world. You have 4 big open world areas, basically. Would you classify this? Would you put this in the fantasy genre? Like, would this world be classified as a fantasy world?
No.
Ooh. Okay. I believe that's 5. Okay.
Man, it's so hard for me not to say anything about these
yeah,
things.
yeah. That's 100%. When you're on the other end, you want to say stuff, but you can't. Yeah. Okay, so open world that was released after 2010, that was not exclusive, and the world is fantasy. Was this? Oh, I got a good one. Okay, especially because we got the age here, right? So you've been around for a while. Would you say the publisher of this game has had an E3 press conference more than once?
Ooh, more than once.
Interesting. Interesting.
I'm going to have to look that.
There's like obviously EA, obviously Ubisoft, obviously PlayStation, so on. Like the obvious peeps that have showed up to EA, or frequently EA. Maybe I'll phrase it as that, like, did the publisher of this game, were they a frequent a tender to EA or had press conferences?
I'm gonna say no, but I cannot, without doing research, definitively say that they haven't had more than one. But my hunch is no.
Okay. That's fine. Soft no. I'll take it. I have a suspicion. Okay.
And let me just amend that. Like, that's going way back. Like, if you're talking in the last 10 years, absolutely not.
Is this an indie game?
No. And I have you right now at 7. I believe that's correct.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, definitely not an indie game.
Okay. I have a guess in my mind, and I'll speak out loud in a moment. I'm not going to look at your face as I say this, but I have a feeling it's Metal Gear Solid 5, but we'll see. By Konami, but we'll see. Would you say? Oh, this is good. Is this part of a franchise?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Was this? Shoot, man. There's no way it's Ubisoft because you wouldn't have hesitated. You would have said yes, definitely to the EA3 question. So was this game? So it's not an indie. Was this game published by a Japanese publisher?
Yes.
Okay. Is the publisher either or? So any of these, either or, Konami, Capcom, Square Enix. I'll just say those: Konami, Capcom, or Square Enix.
Yes.
Okay. You know what? Let's just Hail Mary it. Was this game directed or created by Hideo Kojima?
Yes.
There's no other open. Well, okay, there's two. You know, let's just. Okay, I could be cocky, but let's just be absolutely certain here. Was this game released for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One?
Yes.
What are we at? What's the questions number?
11. I have you at 11.
All right. Whether it's whether I got 11 questions or if question 12 is the one that gets it. Yes or no? Is this game Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain?
Yes.
Woo!
Dude, I don't know what zeroed you in on that, but you nailed it. I think that you were at 8 when you guessed it.
I said that at 12 minutes. I got that in 7 minutes, baby.
Now, I was contemplating my hard mode game would have been Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes. That would have thrown me for a loop.
See, what I thought of was, well, no, it wasn't open world. I don't know why I hesitated. I could have got this in 10 or 11, man. I was thinking of Peace Walker, but I'm like, Peace Walker wasn't open world. You would go on missions. That wasn't open world. And then, like, Ground Zero, I thought of too, but then I'm just like, I guess it's more like an open zone of a game than anything, than the whole world. But yeah, that open world question, C2's like, that narrowed it down a lot. Yeah, the open world question helped a lot. So I just knew, and the E3 one too. Like, I kind of purposely don't play because I feel kind of proud about how good I did.
That was very good. Yeah, but the E3 thing, has Konami ever done an E3? I bet they have.
They have. They've done a couple, and that's why that was the main thing that set me off, because I'm like, if it's not like Bethesda, Ubisoft, Xbox, EA, Nintendo, if it isn't any of those guys, then who the hell would have published this if it's not an indie? It must be Konami, because Square Enix has definitely showed up a few times, I think, and Capcom, I don't know if they've had their own showcases.
They've had showcases, but I don't know about E3 showcases. Yeah,
I don't
spotlight things these days.
Yeah, so that's the E3 question and the open world. Those are the two things I got. Like E3, open world, indie. Those are the three things that I'm like,
yeah, you crushed
probably
it, man.
Konami.
Honestly, when you said I think it's the Phantom Pain, in my brain I was going like, how the hell did he know that?
We you planted the seed because we mentioned Death Stranding 2 earlier or something. So
yeah, there was a little meta going on. We talked for a while.
Yeah,
about
there was
Konami,
a meta.
but...
There was a meta. Oh, that was fun. But yeah, that is our show of Good Game today, fellas. We got it about an hour 20. Perfect. So I appreciate all of you for listening to this. Some quick plugins before we go is one, put !guest if you would like to check out Josh and his Twitter and his YouTubes, but also in a coming Good Game. I love and I want to plug this in again. If you would ever love to be on the show and just like talk with me and present a topic that maybe is news or not, then I'm telling you, I left a link in the description that you can just fill out this form, and I want to consider doing that going forward. I want to like, Dave Ramsey or whatever, he has like people call in. Like, I want this to be a nice opportunity for just a book club, for a small channel of just people that love to talk about video games and speculate about them. So I just want to say that. But also in that vein, oh man, before the Switch 2 Direct comes, there's a Good Game that I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to get a panel and we are going to react to what we collectively are deeming as the best Nintendo Switch games before the Switch 2 comes out. And we will be speculating about what could possibly happen at that Switch 2 Direct. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be an awesome one. That's going to be probably the Friday before the Direct, but we'll see. I just want to tease that, though. I'm going to keep teasing that throughout the month. Looking forward to it. Josh, anything else before we go?
No, that's it. I mean, you covered it. You can check out my YouTube channel. It's Quest Mode on YouTube, but there's nothing new there. Probably won't be for a little while. But that's me. And just thanks for having me on. It's always fun. Well played on the codename Good Game there. And good. I feel weird saying this about a surgery because like luck has nothing to do with it, but good luck. Best wishes. How about that? Best wishes on your surgery, man. That's very cool.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Let us know what you think about any of these topics if you watch the show, as well as anything that's just, I don't know, like interact. Appreciate you very much. And don't forget, most importantly, be a geek, be proud, be awesome.